Hey, what's up, guys? Thank you for joining me on this episode of In the Trenches. As you can see, we thought we would take it on the road. And as you know, I've made it very clear with my obsession with painting. Our guest today is a fine artist and a friend of mine. So we are in his studio. Can't wait for y'all to hear this episode. I want to remind y'all, please like, share, and subscribe. But let's jump into it right now with my friend and painter, Erik Skoldberg. Yeah, man, I can't wait to come up here and start snapping of you when you're.
Yeah,
I'll bring my overalls.
So once you get into the fine detail, like her dress took me like a week to do all of that texture and layers and different colors. Like you can feel it. Like feel the. Like that's when you got to use the fine tip needles, and then I use different foam brushes, different spackleting things. I mean, but in order to get kind of these details in her necklace and everywhere else. This is a 250 SWB. This is one of the original Ferraris with the Barani rim that they made.
Oh shit, I didn't even see that. There's actually a rim in there. Wow, so you actually have the original?
That's an original from Italy. That rim is like $7,500. And I brought it to a CNC company, because CNC machine company here, and I'm like, I need you to cut this thing in half. And they're like, do you know what this is? This is a Barani Ferrari rim. And I go, yeah, I need you to cut it in half. They're like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just doing an art project. They're like, well, I've got a ton of rims. Why don't you why are you using? I was like, no, it's got to be this. I'm using, but I don't want to tell them, hey, it's for this $100,000 paint, because then they're like, oh, well, let's charge him. They charge me $300 to. Yeah. They put it in this machine. They use a laser cutter and cut it perfectly, but then that'll inset into the piece 4 inches, so just 2 inches pop out. So you get
that's really unique.
But
that's really cool.
I've taken motorcycle tanks. I've done Rolls-Royce rims, Ferrari rims, Lamborghinis. I've taken the exhaust and cut it in half, mounted it when it's the back of the car. I've got tequila pieces that have the tequila bottle that you could pour a perfect shot. So this is the piece that I did for Kevin Hart for his tequila. So the bottle sits here. I'm making the special plate that the bottle sits here. It screws in, and then you could pour a shot of tequila out of it. And yes, you need to resin these, because if you pour tequila,
on the canvas,
it bleaches it back to its original state.
It
takes all the layers. You could take 18 layers of, and that's funny because my dad was like, if we're ever sick, he goes, "I'll just take a shot of tequila." And that's true, because it kills everything.
Strips it out. Yeah. Look at this. We got to pull this one out.
Oh, yeah. This
Holy
is a fun piece.
Crap. Erik, that's a beautiful piece.
So let me...
Stapleton. Dude, his beard, his hair. Tell me about this piece.
So this is another Montana kind of collection. I've still got to work on his face. I don't know if that's a boxing glove under there, but... So yes, I take all the staples out of the canvas. Once I'm done with the backdrop, I'll take it off the canvas, because how do I reach the center laying down? Okay. I got to take it off, because then I'll lay and be able to get that. But I'm actually going to take revolver gun that was back in the day, and that'll mount right there on the piece.
Okay, so this is going to be back.
So this is going to be a part of the pop collection. So it'll
collection.
Have a really cool single action rifle, but vintage. So a lot of the cool woods that will match his shirt and the backdrop. Obviously not the camo gun that I'm showing.
Sure.
But finding the right.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever been this far in process and realized,
not feeling it?
Shit. Yeah, I didn't do it right, or it's not where I wanted it to go.
Yeah,
it just didn't end up right. Do you have a graveyard of canvas?
I have
of work that maybe is like 80% there.
Yeah, hundreds.
Good, because that's. And I'm known for having a almost a problem with my criteria for when it's done. My refinement is
we get a little anal.
Yeah, I'm in the
progress.
weeds. I'm in the weeds. So when it finally does come out on the other end, I love it and I'm good with it. But are you the same way with your work?
I am. So I have over 50 canvases. The wrong layer with the wrong color, whether I'm 6 layers in, 8 layers in, or going to the final production where I did 1 layer too much. Like I said, less is more, where I did that last layer, and because of that blue, but there's magenta or metallics underneath, created a brown or gray or funky color that you did not want in the painting. I used to, as I started off, I used to get so upset because you're like, okay, well, I just worked a week on this. What do I have to show for it? Nothing. I used to take a razor blade. I used to break the canvas. I used to get so pissed, but it's all the progress, right? Now I can pretty much, down to a chemist, get the right colors, the right concepts, and the right bleed that I want to, but I still ruin.
And you had to ruin to get there. Now, I'm right there with my work. Now, one thing, does that mean, is it an issue in your mind as an artist that you have a signature to go to and you don't necessarily explore all these ideas? Or is it, no, dude, that's the art, that's the journey, is getting to the point where you can be the signature. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because when you start off, you're doing a lot.
You want to do it all, and you don't have. Now I'm super picky, so I look at run, drips, errors, where it kind of shows how you got there. Where I don't want certain. I want it everywhere watercolor-esque. You want the piece seamless, where like, well, how did he do this layer? Was he using water? Was he using a brush? Was he using a roller? Yeah. You want to create, so if I show those run, drips, errors anywhere, I scrap it, or different colors pop out. I look back at my stuff that I did 6-8 years ago, and I'm like, oh wow, like it's progressed so much that. Not that I was embarrassed about those pieces, but it's evolved tremendously.
Yeah, I've actually gotten to the point where
I've gotten so much more picky.
Yeah, I actually kind of have been where I would look back at old work, old videos or photos, and actually be kind of embarrassed by it, because I feel like I've grown to something more elevated. Absolutely. But I've lately, latter part of a year or so, I've been confident in the old work because it's what led me to here, and it has its own chapter in my evolution. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm not really kind of like head down on anything, Yeah,
I mean, I don't think I could have ever gotten to this point unless I went through those hundreds of errors.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's very important in the process, and even thinking about bringing on help or someone in the studio that can would be no way, shape, or form. I mean, I still screw them up. I screw up the layers, and it's getting into that act, like being able to fix it immediately. Paint using foam brushes and watercolor-esque, like it's all about the pressure that I apply for those really big strokes that you want solid, or those iridescent strokes. So it's kind of like I'm still manipulating the piece and my textures and all the time. So, and that's where you kind of evolve into something else. If I ruin it, like I try something that I would never try before. And that's how you kind of evolve. And that's how I went from my raw collection to my urban collection, is I didn't really like it. So I started pulling off layers with like spackling brushes. I started adding water to pull those layers off because I was trying to save what was underneath. And I created this really cool, different breed and different series.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Do you want to sit down and chat? Yeah. Let's sit down.
Put this out.
Gnarly. That's a beaut. Jesus. Love this stuff. Look at these.
And I had so many clients that are like, I want your studio floor. How do I rip this up when you leave? So I had the idea of taking this is a super, super thick canvas, kind of like
So we're
a
on one now.
duvet. We're on one now. And I tape this down and I leave it down for the entire year. So it'll have over 700 layers. That's one behind it. And it really captures the colors that I used that year.
I absolutely
So
think
this
that's
is
genius, dude.
this is not
This feels
that
yeah,
far.
Think about it. That's kind of showing where your head was at.
But but what's nice is like if you ever have writer's block, or if you're ever like, okay, well, what colors haven't I done? Because I've done over 500 pieces. What colors are endless, but like what have I not done? I can go back to my studio floor and kind of look at some colors and ideas and pull out colors from this new studio floor and kind of go from there.
Are you working on multiple pieces at once?
I do, yeah.
Is that necessary for you so you don't get locked in on one and start to self-sabotage so you can just bounce?
Yeah, it's probably more my my ADD. I do one layer and then I'll push it aside. I'll work on another layer on a different piece in similar colors because it takes me an hour and a half to mix all of my colors. It only takes me half the time to actually put the layers on. But I'll be mixing wild colors and I have this rack of pieces that are half done. I'll be like, that's the color that I need for this piece that I haven't worked on in 2 months. And I'll pull that out, put it down, and use that color. So I kind of have the paintings in my head of what I've started and have not completed. And I'll pull from that rack and add to those.
Does inspiration come random to you and then you start a piece with that inspiration in mind, or do you have to put it in queue? You know what I mean? Do you just get a wild hair idea, and is that idea so fresh it trumps everything else?
Yeah, I'll do usually when you least expect it, right? You're on a road trip. I just got back from Charlotte. I drove 6 hours to install some artwork for a good client, but just looking at how the leaves are changing or the landscape, you're like, I haven't done those colors in a long time. I have this piece, I have this idea that had started those layers, and yeah, you'll push everything. I have a lot of icons that are half finished. I was like, all I need is 2 days to finish those up, but I really want to try these new colors that I haven't done in a while. And while it's fresh, right? Because your vision and our vision as artists, I can see a blank canvas and envision those colors that I just saw on that road trip or a couple days ago or outside or in a magazine. You can't write them down. What kind of blue was that? Was it a sky blue? Was it a deep ocean blue? Was it Pacific blue?
True.
Was it a Bahama blue? Like
you got to kind of get back and throw some paint on the wall, on the canvas.
Yeah,
and
get those down. And if you screw it up, it goes up in the bin of, see you later next time.
I heard you just in the last minute mention color about 4 times. Is color the impetus for an idea? Is it prompted by color, or do you see it through color first, or is it the icon, or is it the scene or the concept that you see first?
Definitely color.
Yeah. So much is in color.
Yeah, art is really therapeutic, and I want to be bright, fun, uplifting, energetic. So I kind of recreate those colors. I've done moody colors in the past, but usually everything is pretty bright, funky in your face.
Yeah.
Because it's a mood, right? You're setting a mood.
Yeah.
They're super large scale pieces, so you're creating a statement in the home. When you walk in, it's like you can't miss that piece. How do you do that? And whether it's the textures, layers, throwing the paint on the canvas and then pulling it, or putting it down and then watercolor-esque pulling it off, trying to creating different elements. You want to create the depth. That's why I do it in layers. A lot of abstract artists do all of the layers at once. Then you don't have that depth. I want you to be able to walk into the piece.
Wow. So a question, I'm so enamored by, honestly, I wouldn't expect anything else, but like your knowledge and just the detail and obsession, not obsession, like I call it obsession about what I do, but maybe it
Yeah,
is,
a little bit.
but like it's so well versed. Where did all this come from? I mean, we came to the crib while you were gone and your mom said, yeah, well, we put a brush in his hand at 3.
Yeah, she did. My mom has been teaching art for the last 40 years. She taught ceramics in San Diego, and then taught drawing, painting, fine arts in high school, and then she taught the master's program at San Diego State. So her being an art teacher, and then when she retired, she taught all the kids and adults throughout our neighborhood. So I was her apprentice and helping her with the kids and helping her with adults. I was always fascinated with sketching and architecture, loved architecture. And I think building a business or going down a creative path is all timing too. And it's when we grew up, we didn't have iPads.
Yeah.
So if our family's taking us out to dinner or wants us to be quiet, like, here's your sketchbook. Draw this sushi or wherever we're at. Draw those buildings outside. Draw that pond. Draw that duck. So I had this sketchbook that I would bring around everywhere, and that's where the intricacy of my icons, I think, have really helped over those years of the detail. And then fast forward in high school, art store was going out of business, and my mom rolls up in the Suburban with like 5 paintings that were 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot. And she brought them home and she goes, okay, I've done all the training with you about shadowing and charcoal and watercolor and pointillism and pastels and oils. Let's try something new. Let's try something different. I want you to just have fun, like add colors and be prolific and just have fun. Action paint, kind of like a Jackson Pollock. And I stared at that canvas for like 2 weeks before I even touched it. Because you're looking at an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and then you're looking at an 8-foot canvas. You're like, do I start here? Do I start in the middle? Do I start over here? Like,
Yeah.
And she came up after like a week and I had some colors mixed, and she goes, you start right there. And she like did this big swoop on it, and I was just like, you ruined my painting. Like, you ruined it. I was going to start here. And she goes, you're not going to see that. That's just the start. Do some fun textures, fun layers, and whatever you don't like, you go over, and the areas that you do like, keep. And I just kind of had fun with it. And it was a interesting process, but in a very short time, I created something that she's like, this is insane. Like, where did you come up with this idea of pushing and pulling and watercolor? Like, she's seen a lot of artists in her time, and maybe she's biased because she's my mother, but
Yeah.
I think I had a little gift or a vision of different layers and different concepts, and the way she always calls me a colorist, of way of putting together colors that should not be put together.
Yeah. It sounds like she instilled in you a healthy dose of how to break the rules.
Yeah.
Right? Not
Oh yeah.
don't necessarily follow the have your vision. Don't follow the status quo.
And that's a great way of saying it too, because she kind of put me through her master's program in high school, her drawing, painting, fine arts. She's like, I already put you through a program that you would in school. Like a lot of those master programs, well, you have this style wired. Let's try something else. Like, let's get you, and your style changes, or they push you in different tunnels. Like, I had the style, and I wanted to kind of tunnel vision that and make that technique perfect. How do I do that? So I went to school for business marketing, and because if I wanted to create a business and do collaborations and do corporate stuff, like, I got to have that business background. So I have the business background and the arts.
Did you know you wanted to make this was going to be a lifelong career when you were doing that business?
Not at the time, because I didn't want to. It's kind of like being an actress or an actor or a football player.
Don't quit your day job.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to have that business background to fall back on, and and I was always into clothing, apparel, design, artwork. But again, it kind of goes back to that timing. So that timing that we didn't have iPads, we're sketching. Well, I graduated '08, which was the crash, and there's nothing going on. My friends were in finance, commercial real estate, um, attorneys. They're going working for free. I was like, now this is a perfect time to create and build a collection. And I had this really cool gallery in San Diego that believed in me and said, hey, if you're serious about this, I don't want you being a real estate agent or a contract, whatever you're going into. And then this is a hobby. I sell artists and artists only, that they're going to be forever artists. So if you're going to be that person, build a 30-piece collection and I'll do a show with you. And to build 30 pieces took me about a year.
That's an interesting. I had that. I'm in that phase now where I'm trying to. I've got people saying, "Hey, you know, do you have a body of your work ready to go, ready to show?" Which means framed, beautiful,
absolutely.
You know, and you're talking 30, 40 pieces. And I'm in that place now where I've got the actual product, the photos, the imagery. But it's the investment and getting to that next, you know, finding
absolutely,
you know, that next stage is where I'm at. Is that something that you knew you had to walk through right at that moment? Like, oh shit, I gotta go make 30 pieces.
I just did a day at a time. Yeah,
Okay.
I would be in my head, and I think you start with one, and whether it's my studio or my room, I'm like super like organized and I want everything perfect before I even touch a piece. But I didn't want to rush through it, because I did rush through at the beginning, like 4 or 5 pieces. And already at that moment, like you want to be obsessed with a piece. Like, man, I crushed that, or that thing's so awesome. Because again, the pieces that are in the archives up there that I'll never unroll, it's like, if you're already not in love with it, you're like, okay, that's cool. I like the strokes and the concept, but I messed up the colors. If it's already not cool now, or if it's just mediocre, by the time you are going to show it, you don't like it.
Yeah, you don't believe in it.
So I would roll those up, put them away, because it's kind of like you got one shot. I wanted my best pieces. And I even pulled the pieces like from my parents' house. Like, I got to get those back. I'm using those.
This is a cherry. I need it now.
I need it.
Would you agree? Because I've said this on the podcast before, where, you know, when you are ready to reveal your work and to put your work out there, you better be in love with it. You better love your work.
100%. Because you got to talk about it.
Exactly.
And you got to be passionate about it. And you got to kind of tell the story around it. I was never good at that. I was never like, well, what were you feeling? Were you depressed? Were you moody? Did you have a bad day? Where did you get these color ideas? I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky, fun guy. And I wanted to build something bright and energetic. And so I'd always kind of filter that. And whether it's listening to a podcast or having the right music on could lead you in those directions.
Music has to be important to this. We were talking a little bit about it. You were saying reggae, so you can stay in that state. You know, you don't want to necessarily. But I mean, I guess you listen to all kinds of
you know, I do. I always tend to go to reggae. I got my Bob Marley, Iration, and Pepper, Ziggy Marley. But I'm in the studio for 10 or 12 hours, or even if it's 8. That's a lot of time listening to one genre. And then I'll jump into, if I'm working on a Stapleton, or if I'm working on when I was doing Jake's piece, you know, I put on some of his music. Or if I'm working on a Kevin Hart, I'd put on a little rap. Or if I was working on Leon Bridges, I'll put on his, kind of get inspired, and whether it's vintage or timeless or new age, kind of get into it. I do a lot of old rock, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Santana. I'll listen to everything.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy I would think you would get a lot of joy out of installments when you finally get to go to the client's space, put it up, transfer it there. Is that something that
it's super special? And I appreciate, like, a lot of times I'll ship the piece depending on how far it is. but you always get so nervous because they're putting it into crate. Is it
Yeah.
going to be safe? I just worked on it for a month.
Yep.
If it's multiple pieces and it's a really good client, or I've just drove down to Charlotte with a client that's been collecting my pieces for quite some time, and we just did 2 really cool pieces, and the piece was 10 foot. So really hard to ship regardless. So I drove it down there and just, seeing how excited, and they're like, holy fuck, this
Yeah.
changed the whole dimension and the whole feel and mood of this room. This is like, and them being that excited about it makes us want to continue to create.
For sure. Now,
Yeah.
do you on those commission-based gigs, do you go to the space first? Do you or get photos sent to you, color palettes, how much light is in the room, so you know how, where it's going to be?
Yeah. I don't know if they go down to the lighting, and that can all be kind of put in, or I used to, like, it's so funny. They would take swatches, like send me of the couch, and here's the swatches of the rug, and you're like, okay, well, you're doing a really expensive piece of artwork, but you want to match that. Shouldn't it be the other way around? Put the artwork up and match everything around
Okay.
it, because this is going to be forever. And I'm sure those pillows and everything's going to be kind of changed in and out. But they'll send me pictures of their space. Size is super important. If you put a Post-it stamp on an 8.5 by 11, it's going to be
Yeah.
minuscule. You want to maximize the wall, but not maximize the space. So sizing is first. And then they'll kind of look through my portfolio, look through the pieces that I've done in the past, whether it's Instagram, my website, and kind of, I always ask, well, what colors what
Okay.
colors do you hate? What colors don't you want in the painting
Fair.
first? And then I can kind of go from there and create something that
Yeah.
that
I
they
could
want.
see. I didn't even think about that. Yes, I love what you said about no. We should don't match it to the furniture, which in
Yeah,
probability 8 years or so
yeah,
you're going to swap it, or there's going to be new decor. But this is going to be forever, and plus your pieces have a bold color statement anyway, so it's almost like you want to find outside of a color they don't want to see, but you still want to find something to inject, so all eyes go to it.
yeah. You want to complement. You don't want to compete with those
Yeah.
colors,
Do you?
and you don't want to match a $100 pillow with $100,000 piece of artwork. You want to go the other way around.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Uh,
Did you have a do you have like representation agents, or is it or just you with your networking and all that?
yeah, I've got a few galleries that represent me, whether it's in Telluride and Greenwich, Hamptons, um, and then I had a wonderful team that has helped me with what great brand partnerships. I was the fish artist for Adidas back, I think it was 2019, where I did Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Von Miller for
Damn.
Adidas when they played San Francisco. Art Basel, I did a really cool collaboration with Hermes. House of Creed, I did a really cool collaboration with them where I painted, first time ever in 250 years that they let an artist touch their bottles. And I did an 8-piece collection of their uh, perfume and colognes for Art Basel. So those right fun collaborations really snowball. Zion, the president of Adidas, took a really great guy, humbled, and he's like, well, what about hockey? What about basketball? What about other Adidas guys?
Yeah.
Like, he was such a genuine, cool person, and that's where I love my career, where you get to meet so many
Yeah.
wonderful people. And I've had clients where I've done pieces and I've driven 10 hours and I show up to their house and it's like their help goes, oh, yeah, put it on that wall. Like, oh, here, take it. Hey, really appreciate it. And then there's the clients like, you're going to drive all the way out here and personally install this. I'm going to get 5 of my art loving friends. We're going to have a party. We're going to open up tequila. Like, let's have fun.
Mhm.
And they usually introduce me to multiple other art collectors and really fun people. And then you build a relationship with those guys and you end up traveling with them and
Yeah.
golfing and going on surf trips. So
Was there a piece that you created maybe early on that was a piece that kind of like maybe that you think set it off, that got the recognition, got in the right room or that?
Yeah, I mean, I think Adidas was big. Doing Mahomes at the time was huge. I mean, he still is.
Yeah.
Just an incredible athlete and one of the top quarterbacks. But yeah, having that visibility at the Super Bowl party, you have every athlete in that room.
Yeah.
And oh, well, you did one for Mahomes. Well, then I want one. And it's funny how we think it's
True.
like whatever the best athlete or like Elon Musk, he's got it, I want it.
Yeah.
Similar kind of going to the golfers. Gary Woodland is a big collector, super great guy. Introduced in kind of that golf era. I did a really cool piece of him golfing back in the day for his 30th birthday. And then that kind of rolled into, oh, Jordan Spieth wants one. Okay, well, Bubba Watson.
Yeah.
And it kind of converted into, and it's really just getting those pieces out there.
Yeah.
Versus being on my rack or being in the garage.
Yeah, it doesn't
and that's
do any,
with every artist.
It doesn't
like
do any good.
you have that
sitting
killer,
them down.
you have that killer photo or that killer mix that you just created. Like, how do you get it out there?
Did you early on battle with, maybe you had a bunch of badass pieces, but you were just kind of too timid to put it out there? And then once you do, you kind of like you crossed over that line, like, yes, I'm that, but at first it's so nerve wracking to expose it and release the dove.
Yeah, it is. And I always go back to that first show. I think I was like 24, 23 years old. And the art galleries already tell you, they're like, okay, well, if 50% of the people hate it, 50% of the people like it, that's a really good job. I'm like, 50-50, that sucks. But it's so true. It's like, okay, well, I love art. Well, I could love landscapes. I could love traditional art. I can love the Roman era, and there's so many different mediums that hey, that's an awesome piece. It's just not my style.
Sure.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But as artists, it's like these are our babies. This is our passion. We put so much time and energy, blood, sweat, and tears into this. Yeah. Like you hate, so you get shy and you get nervous until you have some success. That first show, I sold 3 or 4 pieces. FedEx picked me up to do their corporate office in Memphis. Hilton Hotel wanted me to do these really big format 14-foot pieces for their lobby. So that's when I was like, oh shit, I made it. Like, this is easy. Like, I got it. And that was the first show. And then you kind of get thrown on the back burner. They are having a show for a new artist and you're doing follow-ups. And then I kind of went into that starving artist. Like, I was hustling just to sell 1 painting a month.
Okay.
Like, and that's where kind of my marketing and business background from college kind of kicked in. I was like, okay, well, this gallery is representing 24 artists. That means I get to show for 2 weeks. How can I do more? Okay, well, how do I get visibility? Well, let me go to my real estate guys. Let me go to my dentist buddy. Let me go to my attorney buddy. Let me go to my sport agent buddy, and let's put my pieces in their lobbies or high traffic areas. I'm creating all these pieces. They're not going to do justice in my studio. They're not going to be doing anything in my parents' house or my house. Like, let's get them in high traffic areas where I put up my plaque. And over about 4 years, I created a couple hundred pieces, 4 or 5 years. And that's when that momentum started picking up. Or I did 20 clients' houses every year after year. Then I did charity events where I donate to Best Buddies or Make-A-Wish Foundation, Oceana. And I think after about 7 years, it was like that snowball effect where, like, hey, I just saw this really cool piece in John's house or Sarah's house. How do I get one? Or, hey, I was just at this my attorney's office and there's this really cool piece. How do I get one? Where they were reaching out to me.
The seed that was planted had to grow.
It was a long process. I mean, now everybody with Instagram and TikTok like wants to be an overnight success.
Yes.
Versus back in the day, it was like put in 10 years, it's 10,000 hours.
Yeah, it was about sweat equity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does social media, does AI, does that, I mean, I already know the answer. It's going to come down to no, we believe in human, authentic creating art, and that's that. I know. But do you just roll your eyes at it? Does it actually impede your space of like business?
No. I
Okay.
mean, look at what was it, NTF's, like the digital platform.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool. I have this on my phone. Like if I collect a piece, I've got wonderful artists. I've got really cool brainwashes, James Rubicki's, uh, Justin Lyons. Like I want to be able to take those and give them to my kids or have them in my house
Yeah.
for the longevity of 25 years and collect them, and then also root for those guys. I want to see their careers flourish. And you're rooting for them now, and you want their pieces to appreciate. Yeah, social media is great because you can reach so many different countries, so many different clients, designers. I think it's that corporate aspect, and they just want to follow your career. But does that make or break a career, or do just with the algorithms and everything? It's tough, but it's a great platform and a great way to show your collection.
It is.
And your brand with lifestyle. And you do get once a month clients that you've never met. I've met a collector in Dubai that bought 6 pieces I've never met, built a collection and shipped them off via Instagram.
Wow.
So that's why it's there, and it's great to have.
Another tool. Marketing tool.
But I've never really figured the ins and outs of Instagram. You need a professional like me that's just, okay, I know how to work it. Here's what we need to do.
Do it your way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really appreciate you taking the time out to show us the studio, man.
I can't wait to get you in here. And
I'm going to get in here.
We'll break out a blank canvas and you pick the colors. I won't touch the piece, and I'll kind of walk you through the process, and maybe we can create something fun.
I would be honored, dude. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.